Hey guys, so today's state of the heart is dilemma. And the card says, dilemma is a situation of difficult choices, leaving you feeling torn. When a dilemma arises, it reminds you to examine the issue from multiple perspectives and look for hidden opportunities. You will always find a way out, even if it seems difficult at the moment. So that's today's state of the heart, dilemma. So today's state of the heart is dilemma, and right away this feels like that energy where your heart is still sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee or tea, a whole headache, and 3 tabs open in its mind, like, okay, do I say something? Do I stay quiet? Do I trust what I feel? Do I wait for God to handle it? Do I mind my business? Or is my business currently standing in my living room eating my Snickers? I just had a Snickers, that's why I said that. I'm pretty sure I got some more. So yeah, this is a dilemma. Because dilemma's not always some dramatic movie scene where somebody's standing in the rain, making a life-changing decision with mascara running down their face. Sometimes it's quiet. Dilemma's quiet. Sometimes it looks like smiling when your stomach already knows the truth. And sometimes it looks like trying to be supportive while your nervous system is over there doing Zumba. Sometimes it looks like watching someone you love make choices you can't make for them. No matter how much you want to grab the steering wheel and say, this GPS has been rerouting you already for 3 years. So a dilemma is a situation of difficult choices. It leaves you feeling torn. And that word, it matters big time. Because torn means something in you is being pulled in 2 different directions. Like one part of you is saying, I love them. I want to support them. I don't want to push them away. And another part of you is saying, I see the pattern. I see the cycle. I see the performance. I see the emotional coupon code being used every time accountability shows up at the register. And that's where the psychology comes in here. A dilemma, it's not always confusion. Sometimes a dilemma is your attachment system fighting with your discernment. And your attachment says, but I love them. But discernment says, correct, and love, it's not a blindfold, ma'am or sir. Your hope says, maybe this time is going to be different. But your body says, then why do I feel like I need a blood pressure cuff, a spiritual exorcism, every time this situation repeats? And your mind says, let me look at it from every angle. And your spirit says, girl, we have looked at this from the front, the back, the side, the aerial view, the ring camera view, the Google Maps view, and the ancestors' balcony, you know? That's dilemma. Not because there's no truth, but because the truth has consequences. And sometimes we are not afraid of knowing the truth, but we are afraid that the truth will require us to stop pretending. So the card about dilemma, when this card arises, we are being asked to examine the issue from multiple perspectives. That's what it says here, right? I read it. And look for hidden opportunities, it said. And I love that because Spirit is not saying panic. Spirit is saying pause, observe, stop reacting from a wound, and start looking at the pattern. That is Virgo moon energy too. So that's what we got going on. Virgo does not just walk into the room and say, I feel weird. No. Virgo goes in with a clipboard, receipts, timestamps, a highlighter, and a quiet little judgmental eyebrow. Virgo says, let's review the data. Not the promises, not the apologies, not the performance, not the temporary behavioral change that lasts as long as a phone battery on 3%. The data. So what keeps repeating? Ask yourself that. What keeps repeating? And who benefits from the confusion? Who gets sympathy without change? And hey, that's enough. That's enough. Both of you get down. No fighting here. This is a peaceful area. Who gets sympathy without change? Who gets to leave everybody else emotionally cleaning up the mess? And that is where hidden opportunity is. Because sometimes a dilemma becomes holy ground when we stop asking, why is this happening to me? And we start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Not in a toxic positivity way. Not that everything happens for a reason while you're still actively suffering and someone is tap dancing on your nervous system. No. We are not putting glitter on dysfunction and calling it healing. But sometimes God shows a dilemma, or the universe, to sit in front of us long enough that we finally stop romanticizing a pattern. We stop dressing it up. We stop making excuses for it. We stop saying, well, maybe they just need time. Because listen, time, it does not turn avoidance into accountability unless the person chooses growth. Time, I mean, it can grow flowers, don't get me wrong. Yeah, time can grow wisdom too. And time, it definitely grows children. But time, it can also grow audacity if no one ever checks the soil. So, like I said, Saturday, there is a Gemini and Uranus. And with Uranus moving into Gemini, dilemma, it gets even louder. Gemini rules communication, words, choices, split paths, mixed signals, nervous energy. Remember I talked about that anxiety, curiosity, conversations, and mental patterns. So Uranus it comes in like almost like a cosmic power outage with a flashlight. And it's saying, let's see what still works when the performance goes dark. That is not gentle energy. That is awakening energy. That's the kind of energy where people suddenly may start seeing through things that they used to excuse before. The text messages, they hit different. The tone hits different. And the inconsistency, it definitely hits different. So I'm trying, it starts sounding less like effort and more like a subscription plan that nobody signed up for. So Uranus and Gemini, they can bring sudden realizations through conversations, information, even overheard details, weird timing, unexpected truth, or just one small thing that finally makes the whole puzzle click. And that's why dilemma matters. Because sometimes the heart, it does not wake up from one giant betrayal. Sometimes the heart wakes up from one tiny moment where it says, wait, I've seen this freaking episode before. And once the mind sees the pattern, It cannot fully unsee it. That is Uranus and Gemini. The mental light switch. The moment that the nervous system whispers, this is not love. This is a loop. The real state of the heart today is torn. Yeah. But it's not powerless. It's sad, but it's not stupid. And it's emotional, but it's not blind. It may still be attached, but it's starting to observe. And that is so important, because before someone changes their life, they usually have to change the story they keep telling themselves about their life. Before they leave the loop, they have to see, hey, wait a minute. This is a loop. And before they choose peace, they have to admit chaos has become very familiar. And before they choose themselves, they have to understand how long they have been choosing potential over reality. That is not easy. That is not instant. And that is why we have to be careful with our expectations, especially when we love someone who's still learning through experience. Because from the outside, we may be screaming internally, girl, boy, the red flags, they're not flags anymore. This is a whole damn parade. But from the inside, they may still be wrestling with guilt, hope, history, chemistry, fear, embarrassment, comfort, loyalty, and that dangerous little demon called, but what if they change? What if they change? Maybe he means it. Maybe they'll show up. Maybe this time it's going to be different. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I should just wait. Maybe there's an explanation. And maybe, remember I told you before, maybe is where us women and men lose years. The line right there is at the altar of this card. Because this dilemma is not just asking, what choice do I make? It's asking, how much longer am I willing to live inside uncertainty and call it love? And usually leave the savage truth for the end. If the same situation keeps making you feel torn, it may not be a dilemma anymore. It may be a pattern asking to be named. And naming a pattern does not mean that you have to hate anyone, okay? And it does not mean that you are judging. It doesn't mean that you're wishing harm. It means you're finally refusing to lie to yourself for the sake of keeping peace. Because some people call it peace when really everybody's just quietly managing one person's chaos. Some people call it love when it's emotional babysitting. And some people call it loyalty when it's really fear of starting over. And some people call it complicated when really it's clear but just really painful. And some people call it private when really they just don't want accountability knocking on the door with the shoes on. Today, God, the ancestors, the universe, your spirit team are saying, don't rush the answer. Study the pattern. Don't let your emotions write the whole story. And do not let fear hold the pen either. Let's let truth sit at the table. Let's invite truth over. Come on, truth, come over here. Let's have a little sit down. Ask yourself this. Sitting down with truth at the table. Just you and truth. That's it. No one else. What keeps repeating? What am I tired of pretending not to see? What am I hoping for change, but still watching the same cycle? Where is my body reacting before my mind admits why? Where am I calling this a dilemma? Because calling it a decision would completely break my heart. And most of all, where's the hidden opportunity? Because the opportunity, it may not be to fix the whole situation today, but the opportunity may be to see it clearly. And the opportunity may be to stop carrying what was never yours. And the opportunity may be to pray without controlling. And the opportunity may be to love someone without rescuing them. So the opportunity may be to trust that God can reach people and places your words cannot. That's what I pray for. And that's hard. Especially when your heart is involved. And even worse when children are involved. And even when family's involved. I know, because I've had these circumstances. Especially when you're watching from the sidelines, gripping your coffee, your tea, your cup, my piña colada, like it's the last piece of sanity left in the house. But today, dilemma. There is a way out. Even if it's difficult in the moment, there's a way out. Not always a fast way, and not always a pretty way. Not always a way that gives everybody what they wanted, but a way that leads back to truth. And truth, it may hurt at first, but illusion, that shit keeps charging interest. So today's state of the heart. Dilemma. When your heart feels torn, do not only ask what you want. Don't just ask that. You can't. Ask what is true. Ask what repeats. Ask what brings peace. Ask what keeps stealing your peace. Because sometimes the dilemma, it's not here to confuse you. Sometimes it's here to show you the exit sign that you keep walking past.